Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome back to our family support group meeting. My name is Craig, and I am going to present some information. We're going to just share some information, rather, today on family, what it means, the importance of having family and being connected to family. All right. And so today we're going to bring you some information. The topic is going to be repairing relationships broken by addiction. All right. And so the topic, once again, is repairing relationship broken by addiction. This is our family support group. And this piece of material is brought to us by JourneyPureRiver.com. Once again, this article is brought to us by JourneyPureRiver.com. All right. And so it starts off by saying addiction is a chronic disease that can negatively affect a person's life and health. What many people don't know is that addiction is a family disease. It doesn't just make the sufferer sick, it also harms their loved ones, colleagues, and acquaintances. All right? One of the casualties of a battle with addiction is the trail of damaged relationship it leaves in its wake. With the right kind of help, repairing relationship after addiction is possible. All right? And so that is some good news to hear and to know that with the right kind of help, when you say the right kind of help, we're talking about the professional help. All right. I am a recovery coach, and so we always let people know that when you're seeking help from addiction, it's always important to seek the right professional help, whether it's from medical, or whether it be from counseling, therapy, et cetera, et cetera. All right. And so we're going to move on and share with you another topic here that talks about addiction, right? And it says, as I've read earlier, it talks about a family disease, right? And so it's not only an individual disease, it is a family disease. Those who are connected to the person, whether it be acquaintances or family members or colleagues. And so we're all in this together. And so when one hurt, it's oftentimes said, when one hurt, we all hurt. All right. And so let's see what the article talks about, a family disease. It says when one person in the family develops a substance abuse issue, it doesn't solely affect them. No matter their drug of choice, their addiction is a family disease. All right. We're here to shed some light on the issue of a family disease, causing stress to the people living in the family home and those closest to the addict. This disease has the potential to interfere with normal family life and routines. A person living with an addiction may behave erratically, depending on whether they are sober, drunk, or high, or recovering from a time when they were drinking or using drugs. Someone in the throes of an active addiction may lie about how much they are drinking, how many drugs they are taking, or even that they are taking drugs. This is one of the symptoms of the disease, and it's common for addicts to manipulate loved ones if it means they can get resources, money, food, a place to stay, a cell phone, etc. That would support the addiction. It can take time for a family to realize that they are dealing with a loved one who has developed an addiction to drugs or alcohol. The early stages of the disease can be subtle. Addicts can be very good at persuading family members that an episode where they were under the influence was an isolated one, and that is, it will never happen again. We talk about manipulation, all right? And so when people are under the substance abuse, or whether it be alcohol or drugs, they can be very manipulative, all right? The article says. Unfortunately, it always happens again in the case of someone living with an addiction. Family members may react to a loved one's addiction by stepping in to help with the best of intentions. All right? Not everyone in the family will agree with trying to help the addicted family member. Some may think that taking a tough stance is the way to handle the situation. All right? When family members disagree about the best way to deal with someone who has an addiction issue, conflict ensues. And the person with the addiction is left to continue drinking or using drugs. At the same time, the discussion or arguing goes on. The addict realizes that as long as the family is in turmoil, they'll be able to feed their addiction relatively undisturbed. They would not allow anything to get in the way of feeding the addiction. So, okay, so now the addict gets what he wants or what she wants in the end, as long as they able to continue in the behavior. No matter if the family are in turmoil or an argument may pursue, uh, the addict is still going about their normal routine and no help is being provided. All right. So let's go on to another discussion. We want to talk about number of families affected by addiction. Addiction is unfortunately all too common today. Families dealing with a loved one struggling with this chronic disease may feel like they are on their own, but these statistics may help put the issue into a different perspective. All right, now we're talking about numbers, figures. Yeah, the whole idea. A lot of times, people may say, "Well, it's not happening to the next door neighbor. It may not be happening to people who live across the street or around the corner or up the block." But we come to learn that addiction has plagued so many families that we don't know how many people are being affected. However, this article wants to shed some light on maybe some numbers that we can come to grips and says, you know what, I'm not alone. So it says, according to the American Society of Addiction Medicine, about 21.5 millions of Americans aged 12 and older have a substance abuse disorder. Okay, and so I'm under the belief that most people I know when I first started, let me keep the focus on myself. When I started out around that age, around 12 years old, experimenting. Okay, and so then it began to increase rapidly after that. So it says of this number, about 1.9 million people developed an addiction to prescription pain medicines, and 586,000 had an addiction to heroin. Wow. Approximately 23% of those people who use heroin develop an addiction to opioids, the class of pain medication that includes morphine, fentanyl, hydrocodone, codeine, and oxycodone. All right. In 2013, all right, it's going back a little bit. So these numbers may be different in 2024, but this article says in 2013, the number of Americans either dependent on alcohol or with problems related to alcohol use was 17.3 million, according to the National Survey on Drug Use and Health. All right, let's go on to another discussion. Rebuilding relationships and recovery. That is so important. That was one of my idea, one of the reasons why I thought to utilize this article, because a lot of times we I know when I was using an active addiction, I know I did a lot of hurt, harm, and damage to my loved ones. And I was fortunate enough to have a support group or a forgiving support group that really embraced me on my journey to recovery. So a lot of times people may have burnt their bridges or may have caused so much harm that they may have severed their relationships. But we want to shed some light on the aspect of rebuilding relationships and recovery. The article says the key to healing from addiction and rebuilding trust after the addict in your family has hurt all of you, let you down, disappointed you, and caused chaos more times than you can count is a drug and alcohol treatment program. All right. And so that is the key to healing, a drug and alcohol treatment program. Professional help is needed for people struggling with alcohol addiction to learn how to live a sober lifestyle and learn how to live without their drug of choice. Part of this process is helping addicts come to terms with the fact that their lives don't immediately become better once they stop using chemicals. That is so true. There are some underlying issues that need to be addressed. And so one of them, I believe, is relationships, okay? Clients in recovery must take responsibility for and deal with the aftermath of events that occurred while they were still using drug or alcohol. It was not their choice to use while they were in the cycle of addiction, but the harm caused to relationships with intimate partners, family members, and close friends still needs to be dealt with. While in a drug and alcohol treatment center, the staff and counselor can help clients using several different techniques. We're going to go over some of these several different techniques. The first one we're going to talk about or share self-realistic expectations. A newly sober client may feel optimistic about their progress in early sobriety and ready for a fresh start in a relationship. They may not be focused on the past, where there likely was a pattern of several years of harmful behavior in the relationship. These issues cannot be resolved overnight. Even if the client sincerely apologizes for past actions, any action taken toward rebuilding a relationship is a victory. And these small steps must be celebrated. All right, taking small steps and remember to celebrate the small victories. A lot of times we try to wait till we get to the apex of recovery or get to a certain height or a certain level or a certain degree of recovery, and we want to have this grand old party. But the article says take the first step, work on the first step, and then as you working on the first step, celebrate. You know, it can be you can be in your early stages of recovery, and you may have been using drugs, let's say 20, 30 years, or maybe 10 years old, or maybe 5, and you never took a break. But now you have on your early journey to recovery, and you have been successfully sober for 30 days. That is something to be celebrated because now you're at least taking the first step. You're at least making strides towards more and more healthy choices and decisions. All right. Rebuilding trust will take time. After a pattern where trust has been betrayed repeatedly, rebuilding it will be a lengthy process. Someone who is living with an addiction will always put feeding their disease first. To ensure that they keep a steady supply of their drug of choice, they are prepared to lie, cheat, and steal if it means they can get their next fix or drink. This pattern is also used to hide the addiction or its extent. from others to keep it going. Learn healthy communication methods. All right. And so now we're just going over some techniques. The first one we talked about: set realistic expectations. We build in trust will take time. Learn healthy communication methods. Communication is a two-way street. All right. And it includes both talking and listening. When listening to someone else speak, many people do not hear what the other person is saying. They are waiting for a conversation break so they can make their next point. That's not what we call active listening. And so we have to hear people out clearly all the way through and be very attentive. All right. And so it says, this is not the best atmosphere to have a healthy discussion. During treatment, a client will be able to learn effective ways to communicate with others and how to truly listen to what another person is saying. There are healthy ways to deal with conflicts that don't end up with someone feeling as though they need to tune out by using drugs or having a drink. Clients will also learn that it's possible to resolve issues without resorting to emotional blackmail, trying to guilt someone into doing what they want, storming out and disappearing, or any other strategies that they may have been using in the past. Friends and family will feel more comfortable expressing themselves directly if they think they will be heard. Effective communication techniques lower the risk of petty disputes and teach clients what to do if the conversation get too heated. All right. Effective communication. All right. They'll learn strategies for diffusing the situation by changing the subject or temporarily withdrawing from the conversation without allowing it to escalate. Another technique is eliminate unhealthy relationships. Not all relationships in a client's life are healthy and positive ones. The bad ones won't contribute to a healthy recovery. They'll end up doing just the opposite. They'll become a reason for a client to start to slip toward a relapse. People in a client's life who are still using drugs and alcohol no longer have a place in their life. Neither do those who are or have been abusive toward the client. Codependent people present another problem for clients in recovery. Some family members can take on a role where they feel they need to look after the person with the addiction and want to shield them from the consequences of their actions. That's what a codependent person does. Once a client moves into recovery and is learning to take responsibility for their actions from the past and move forward in a chemical-free lifestyle, there is no room for someone to be making excuses for them anymore. The codependent family member needs to seek counseling to learn new behavior patterns. All right? So remember, we talk about this as a family disease. It's not just an individual disease. Sometimes we as family members, we try to love on our family members and we want the best, and we try to hide or shield them from people knowing or shield them from taking responsibility for their own actions. And we are doing more harm than we are doing good. All right. And so we want people to get healthy. And so not only the person that is in active addiction, but the person who becomes the codependent also need to seek counseling as well, because there is some trauma or there can be some healing that need to take place. All right. So let's talk about another topic of discussion, and that is types of relationships that need repair. Addiction is an equal opportunity damager and destroyer of relationships. All of a client's closest personal relationships have the potential to be affected by substance abuse. It drives a wedge firmly between people a person has pledged to hold nearest and dearest. There is always hope to fix strained or damaged relationships. However, it's never too early or too late to get back on track after a loved one has struggled with addiction. Let me read that again. It's never too early or too late to get back on track after a loved one has struggled with addiction. If friends and family members can learn about this disease, it does help to give them a better understanding of what their loved ones has lived through. This is not the same thing as providing an addicted person with an excuse for bad behavior committed while they were using. The addict still needs to be responsible for that when it comes to repairing their relationship, spouse or partner. This is key. All right. So we're talking about types of relationships that need repair. And so now we're talking about spouse or partners. Trust is the foundation of the relationship between romantic partners. When addiction appears, it can wear down trust over time or shatter it all at once. Depending on circumstances, once compromised, trust is very challenging to get back. That doesn't mean it's impossible. It's possible to reestablish trust after it has been broken. Okay? It takes time. A recovering addict should expect to come clean about everything they have been holding back from their spouse or partner as a starting point. From there, the spouse or partner will be the one to set some ground rules about gaining trust back. Parents, all right? Talking about types of relationships that need repair. We talk about partners and spouse, or spouse and partner. Now we're talking about parents. Parents and grandparents are usually a person's first source of physical, emotional, and financial support. From the time we are born, we learn to lean on our parents. If we have a good relationship with them, they are the people we know we can turn to during difficult times, and they will always have our back. This urge to help means that parents may feel angry, hurt, and betrayed by an addict child living with a substance abuse issue. If parents have provided financial or practical support, only to realize they have been helping to feed the addiction, they may feel foolish or that they had a hand in keeping their child sick, even though that was not their intention. All right? Their adult child may still lie and steal from them despite the help that the parents have provided since they were compelled to feed their addiction. And so now we want to talk about children, all right? And so now, if you're someone who's in an active addiction, you may have heard of your spouse or your partner or your parent. Now we want to talk about the children, right? Children whose parents are addicts have relationship issues that need addressing as well. Very young children may not realize that their parent is behaving differently from other mothers or fathers. As they age, they may start to understand that their parent has an issue with keeping promises or being on time. The relationship that the problem stems from drug or alcohol addiction will likely only come later in childhood. Getting clean and sober is essential to having a good, honest relationship with children of any age. The younger the child, the easier it will be to get the relationship back on track. With older children, it will take time and patience to show the child that this change is permanent and that the parent will be keeping their word about being around for the child going forward. And I believe the next one and lastly we're going to talk about, and that is friends. All right. And so friends also can be people who have been affected by someone's addiction. It says relationships with friends have likely suffered because of addiction. No matter how long it has existed, some friends may have knowingly or unknowingly enabled addiction to continue. Once an addict enters recovery, they must evaluate their friendships and eliminate the unhealthy ones. A recovered addict can rebuild their healthy friendships. The friends will have to adapt to a new sober lifestyle for the recovering addict. Some friendships will not survive, even with the best intentions. Other people involved and become stronger. Others will evolve and become strong, excuse me. A, addiction recovery that's built to last. All right. It says the next one we're going to talk about, and that is tips for recovering addicts to rebuild relationships. Tips for recovering addicts to rebuild relationships. The perfect time to start rebuilding relationships with family and friends is in treatment. All right. The article says, let me read that again. The perfect time to start rebuilding relationships with family and friends is in treatment. Committing to getting well means making important changes in your life. These tips can help you to improve your relationships. It is of vital importance that you do not take these steps until you are strong enough in your recovery to be completely honest with these people and with yourself. You must be sure that if you do not receive the answer you were hoping for when you reach back out, it will not send you spiraling back into the depths of active addiction. Reach out to those people you want to reconnect with. The first step in many fences is to extend the proverbial olive branch. Okay? If you are unsure how a former acquaintance will receive a phone call, or you want some time to consider what you would like to say, send an email, okay? Or a letter. When you are ready, tell the person you are in or have completed your addiction treatment. As the case may be, let them know you are in the process of getting your life back on track and that you would like them to be part of it. Be honest and direct about what you want, okay? The people who knew you when you were using, no doubt, got used to you denying that you had an addiction or trying to use them in some way. When you communicate with them now, your communication must be direct and straightforward. Apologize for what has happened between you and the past. Be as specific as you want or feel you need to be. And ask how you can make it up to them. Don't beat yourself up over past events. All right. Try not to live in the past. A lot of times, people we can be so hard on ourselves that we uh, feel that we can't move on, or that we allow ourselves to continue to uh, think about past behaviors and how we have hurt or harmed people. And sometimes people try, I don't know if it's intentional or not, sometimes people will try to uh, make you live in the past as well and try to belittle you or put you down and say, remember you used to do this? Remember you did this? Remember you did that? You have to forgive yourself, and you also have to ask for forgiveness. And so that is a two-way street, all right? And so it says, once you have addressed past events to the satisfaction of everyone's involved, draw a line under them. You don't have the power to change everything that has already taken place. You can move forward from this point, though, and make better decisions in your relationship from now on. Make a point of initiating contact with family and friends. Your family and friends may be hesitant about contacting you early in your recovery, all right? They may not know what to expect or understand what it means to you. As is appropriate, take the initiative and contact them to show them that you are still the same person as you were, but a much healthier person than they have seen for some time. You still have a sense of humor and can still have fun. You are free from chemicals. All right? Keep attending meetings and counseling sessions. Friends and family members need to see you walking the walk. That's so important. People need to see you walking the walk to demonstrate that you are serious about your recovery. While you do not need to discuss what happens during a counseling session and anything that occurs at a 12-step or other type of recovery meeting is confidential, you can mention to them that you are continuing your treatment regularly after completing your inpatient drug and alcohol program. And lastly, be patient. It will take time for your family and friends to learn to trust you again. They may not be able to visualize how a relatively short time spent at a treatment program for substance abuse will be able to make a change when the tactics they have been trying, sometimes for several years, have not been effective. Trust will develop over time as you and your family and friends navigate situations where you can deal with them honestly and directly. All right? And so that's it for this week of our family support group dealing with repairing relationships broken by addiction. And so if you know someone you have hurt or harmed, try to make amends and also remember to celebrate the small victory, take small steps, and also remember it's very important to walk the walk. All right? Until the next time, take care of yourself. My name is Craig. Enjoy yourself. Stay healthy. All right.